Hey guys, it's Evan here with the Gate. Gonna kind of do something kind of relaxed and kind of fun. I know we start off every kind of episode with our kind of like three mantra organization of how the show's gonna go. You know, something religious, political, and then something kind of fun. So I'm gonna kind of like reverse this equation, and then I'm gonna kind of work a lot of different things in that same model. So basically, is I'm gonna start with something fun that ends up being something in religion, and then in politics, and then we're just kind of do something kind of real relaxed like that. And what I want to talk today about is the Mona Lisa, which everybody should know, or if you don't know what it is, one of the most famous paintings in the world, done by Leonardo da Vinci. And the painting itself is not, large to scale, and it's not exactly super small. It's kind of relatively small, but it's a very quaint kind of painting. And the only thing about the Mona Lisa, the only subject matter that is in that painting is a woman named Mona Lisa. It is a portrait of her. Now, in the background of the painting, there is nature, woods, all that. The purpose of the painting, why it became so famous, was simply not because of necessarily Mona Lisa herself and the relationship that she potentially had, with Leonardo da Vinci, was that she had a small smile, not like a portrait smile, for the emotionality of happiness, but a smile that alluded to secrecy. And this is where it became so profound to some people, and it became mysterious. It became very, very mysterious about, what was the secret. The subject matter of the painting does not reveal the secret. It does not reveal it at all, right? So it's not like there's a kind of another piece of nature or another individual or something in politics or government or countryhood or culture that illuminates something. It actually does none of these things. There's actually a complete lacking of, of what would be a secret, right? So you would actually have to have more information about Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci, and whatever they were communicating to one another. Now, as a painting, this is where it gets interesting. As a painting, if I am the observer of the painting and you are communicating this idea of a secret, and then you don't give me anything, then that idea, that framework, actually kind of deteriorates, right? It's like a blank folder that says top secret on it, but there's no pages in it. Like something should be here, it's not. And that's where it gets kind of interesting as, this painting started to go, around the world. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the style of the painting, because it's in a pretty realistic perspective, which means that there's a lot of detail to it. You can almost see the detail in, I believe, what she's wearing and how her hair is. It is just like finite detail. Very, very detailed. And even in the subject matter of, because she's not in a house, she's not in like an office or a castle or anything, she's just simply outside. So if you were to take a model and then take them into kind of a wooded area or a nice nature area and just paint it like that, it's actually a relatively, really simple portrait or painting. To go into who Mona Lisa is, I don't believe there's a lot of information, but I'm going to track some down just so we can kind of like hash that out and I can bring it up in like kind of like another little episode. But that is, also does not give you any context, maybe her occupation or anything like that. But what I want to kind of like get away from is the painting of what a secret is, and how many paintings that were out there that were not using secrecy as a subject matter. And this is where we get into religious, and this is where we get into politics. Commissioning grants, commissioning artists to paint this subject matter of secrecy, could be governmental, could be non-governmental, could be organization, like independent organizations, like, hey, we're keeping something a secret, like a Freemason idea, or some form of secret society. There seems to be a lacking of this subject matter being presented. And this is what gets kind of profound about the Mona Lisa. And Da Vinci's views is that, I've been doing something long enough and I'm basically a super genius. And if you think I can't figure out, the Freemasons over here or, the Egyptian pharaohs, like, you might be out of your mind. Like, so in Da Vinci's ideas of, wanting to expose, but then not expose. So he's doing it indirectly, right? He's saying, hey, like, I'm not talking about this secret, that secret, or any of these secrets. I'm just talking about this idea that people don't know how a secret works and how it's communicated. So by him just simply putting that smile on Mona Lisa, and people recognizing that she has this kind of quiver, this kind of slight smile to her that is, almost in a secretive manner. I kind of want to do it. I'm not like a great actor or anything, but if you just kind of like lean into something and somebody kind of, takes your picture and you have this kind of look on your face, like you have this expression that the happiness turned into protection. So there's that idea. Sorry about that idea. I kind of blanked out there. But if you go home or if you're in your social kind of friend circle and that somebody has like some juicy topic and they have that look, it's a very common expression and we've all seen it. We have all seen it. So that's going to be the interesting thing is now to kind of go back to the kind of model of the show here is like where is politics, where is religion? Well, obviously we were talking about that idea in politics that government doesn't want hey, I'm going to go out and build all these top secret reports and give them around, but am I also not going to go into subject matter here to where arts, media, communication and like that? Am I going to start giving out grants? Like, this would be kind of defeating the point that a lot of people know how secrecy works. So I've actually closed the gap for some people intellectually to understand how it's like, you can't, I guess this would be kind of an interesting class to take at a state school. Like, how does top secret information work? Government just basically paying people that will just go for exposure. So, you can see where that's like government is kind of like, we don't kind of want to do this. But then, individual intellect is like, I might be able to figure it out here. But then here comes the money-making idea, especially in politics is, if your secret is worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars is worth something. And I don't almost want to conserve that idea. So I'm not going to throw the whole bank out there like in an exposure manner. All I'm going to do is kind of whittle some of those things down, and it's almost like a hidden gem. I'm just going to show just the lining of the diamond, just that, to see if somebody can figure it out. So this is what ended up happening with the Mona Lisa, Da Vinci, and then some of the governments that were proposing all these arts is like this kind of old statehood idea is like if you're going to keep secrets but then not educate people, so who gets educated in this idea? And that's where it comes into all these like governmental agents and stuff like that. Like this is how they keep the vault in like Area 51, like so I'm reducing somebody's ability to understand this. And this is what Da Vinci kind of says too. He doesn't paint anything in a governmental perspective. There's not a flag behind it, or it's not a kingdom that could be recognized. He's saying that, like, hey, look, government does this, but other organizations and other people do this all the time. And he's like, there should be kind of a line, an ethnic line drawn in your head, like okay, if there was a technique in art, well, I'm going to keep this a secret because, but this is also where it gets kind of dumb. Like, I can't use this technique, but I'm going to use it down the road when it, makes me the most money. So it's like, I figured something out in a technique and art-wise, but then I'm going to use it so far down the road, or I'm going to try to formulate it in a manner as to which I don't give the whole bank away. Same thing with government. So, that's the kind of hidden idea is like, everybody is either keeping something a secret, they're not publishing any works around this or even painting, and he's saying, hey, it's just a painting, like we need to communicate things. And when you keep techniques in art, when you keep like intellectual ideas hidden so it's not communicated, then we don't know about it, like at all. And that's what he's, very much, talking about, is that, well, I have no idea. Like, the other artists don't know how to do this because somebody else is doing all these things, and your imagination won't go there, or you will have no knowledge of something. So he wants to go ahead, and I want to go ahead and press on this idea, so that there is politics. Now, to kind of wrap your head around this next subject matter is religion, because just like Da Vinci, he painted the Last Supper. And he painted other works within religion, and it's the same thing. Like, I might not want people to know how, Egypt really worked, or Abraham. How does that work? So if you've ever read something in kind of like a religious idea, and I'm sure somebody's gonna pop up with this one, is that this doesn't really make any sense. Okay, well, right there is nonsensical ideas. But that, that's the interesting thing, is like, if you put it in a nonsensical idea, what is the purpose of this information? Because this makes no damn sense. But then somebody else will come back and say that, if you read it this way, if you use these intellectual properties to kind of like almost kaleidoscope something, like you need kind of like logic and mathematics and politics and all these things, then the picture becomes, it's like, oh, now I got it. But if you don't teach anybody that, then the biblical text over here just kind of goes wishy-washy. And that debate of like, this is nonsense, Jesus walking on the water, or, healing a blind man. If we just step back and use some more other styles of thinking, like something else is going to come royally clear to you. And they, and some people in the Catholic Church really understand certain things when it's like, you'll be illuminated in something. So that's what I wanted to kind of like, I thought this topic would be really fun, and I thought it'd be interesting. I know a lot of people are, obviously doing that painting. So anybody who likes that painting, who studied it, these are the things that you should be hearing them talk about. Is that, and if there are paintings out there that this is a secret, like, please let me know. Because that was the whole illumination of this thing, is that this is the only painting in the known world at that time that was painting that subject matter. It's secrecy. Shh, don't talk about this. So, if you liked this episode, if you thought this was a good episode, please let me know.